There are three different equations forms of lines. One is called slope-intercept form, and the reason it's called slope-intercept form is there is a definitive slope, which is the coefficient of x, and a y-intercept, which is a constant, when you have y solved for itself. So when y is by itself, you have it in slope-intercept form. So in the first example is identify the slope in the y-intercept. So in order to write it in slope-intercept form and identify the slope in the y-intercept, you need to solve for y. So in this first example, y is already by itself. So the slope is the coefficient of x, which is 3, and the y-intercept is a constant, which is -5. In the second one, y is solved by itself. So I have -1/3 is the slope, and the y-intercept is +2. In the third example, I have to solve for y. I have to get rid of the -5x by adding 5x to each side. So I have y equals 5x plus 12. Usually you write the x term and then the y-intercept. So the coefficient of x is 5 and the slope is the constant, which is 12. And the last one, I need to solve for y, so I'm going to divide by 2. When you divide by 2, you have to divide each term by 2. You have to divide the -4 by 2, so that's -2. Then you have to divide the 12 by 2, so that's plus 6x. So the slope is the coefficient of x, which is 6, and the y-intercept is -2. Okay, next part, write an equation for a line in slope-intercept form. So you're given the slope and the y-intercept. So you have to write an equation for it. So it's going to be y equals the slope, which is 3/8, times x plus 6. So I put the slope in front of x, and I put the constant by itself with the y-intercept. Next one, if the slope is 2/5 and the y-intercept is -1, is y equals 2/5 x minus 1. Okay, in the next part, write an equation in slope-intercept form of the following graphs. So what I do is identify what the y-intercept is and the slope is, and then I write the equation. So the y-intercept is easier to identify. It's where it crosses the y-axis. So the y-intercept is 3. Now when I do the slope, I have to look at the scale and do change in y over change in x. So in this case, it looks like I'm going up 1, right 1, so the slope is going to be 1. Now I can write my equation as y equals the slope, which is 1, so I could write 1x or x, and then plus 3. Example 2, the y-intercept is 3. And then if I look at the slope, I'm going down to right 1, from grid mark to grid mark. So it's -2. So my slope-intercept form is going to be y equals -2x plus 3. Okay, the next one, the y-intercept is -4, and the slope is, I'm going up 5, right 1 to get to the grid mark. So this is up 5, right 1 is +5. So my equation is y equals 5x minus 4. And then the last one, the y-intercept is 3, and the slope is 0 because it's a horizontal line. So my equation is y equals 0x plus 3, but the 0 and the x cancel out to be 0, so the equation is y equals 3. So in a horizontal line, the equation is going to be y equals a constant number, and a vertical line is going to be x equals a number. So I'm just going to graph a few of these in slope-intercept form. So First, what I would do is identify the y-intercept, which is -2, and the slope, which is 3/2. And what you want to do is you want to start on the y-axis. So the y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. So the y-intercept is going to be at -2. And then my slope is 3/2. So I'm going to go up 3, right 2. So I go up 3, right 2. Up 3, right 2. And connect. The second one, the y-intercept is +1 and my slope is -3. So I'm going to start at 1 and go down 3, right 1. Down 3, right 1. Okay, and the fourth one is y = 3. So if I look at here, there's not really, the slope is 0. Oops, so the slope right here is 0 and the y-intercept is 3. So I'm going to go to 3 on the y-axis and make a horizontal line. Slope of 0 is horizontal line. And then the last one, it's not really written in slope-intercept form. It's x equals, so it tells me something else is going on, definitely. So x equals is a vertical line. So on this line, no matter what, x is always equal to -2. It doesn't matter what y is, but x is always equal to -2. It's not a function because it doesn't pass the vertical line test. However, it's still a linear relationship. The slope is undefined because the vertical line, the slope is always undefined. And the y-intercept, there's none.